Okay, so you're knee-deep in SQLite, building an app. Maybe it's for tracking events. Could be anything, right?
Yeah.
Birthdays, deadlines, the works, all in your database.
And it's all good until you need to pull out specific events based on their dates, and
And then
suddenly,
it's like you've stumbled into a time warp.
exactly. Dates and databases, they can be tricky.
That's exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We're going to make you a master of SQLite date queries. This Plus2Net article we found has some really clever tricks.
Oh, I love that article. What seems basic on the surface gets really powerful when you're dealing with dates in a database.
Right, like just the concept of now seems simple, but they use it as the starting point for a lot of calculations.
It's all about making your queries dynamic. Instead of saying, give me everything from July 27th,
Yeah.
think of it like,
Give me everything from 1 week ago, but code it in a way that always works no matter when you run it.
you've got it. Like, imagine you hard code a specific date. Your query's useless in a week, but if it's based on now, always relative to the current date. Super powerful.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. And the article has this example query. It's select from table DT where my DT date now. Makes a lot more sense now.
Right. And that date function, that's SQLite's way of letting you manipulate dates. It's like its own language for time.
Okay, that makes sense. And just like you wouldn't store numbers and text the same way, I'm guessing the way we store dates in the database also matters.
Huge.
Yeah.
If you don't use the right data type for your dates, SQLite won't know what to do. You got to speak its language.
So in that example, my DT, that tells us they've stored it in a format SQLite understands as a date.
Exactly. And that's key for all these cool date functions to actually work.
This now approach, it's like having a time machine, but for data.
The best kind of time machine.
So we're not stuck with static dates. We can analyze trends over time, compare different periods. We can really start to understand the when behind our data.
Exactly. It's like uncovering hidden stories, but instead of digging through old libraries, you're digging through data.
And who doesn't love a good data mystery, right? So what kind of time-bending analysis can we do with this? The article mentions some examples like finding records from the last day of the month and things like that.
Those are great examples. Once you get this whole now thing, you can start to get really creative.
All right, so we've got now as our anchor, but the article also mentions this function, strftime. What's that all about?
Ah, that's where we get really precise with our time travel. Think of it like fine-tuning the dials on our time machine.
Oh, okay, so if now is where we start, strftime is how we zero in on the exact date components we need, like just the year or even the day of the week.
You got it. It's all about formatting and extracting those components, like want just the year, percent minutes wine, need the month. That's pre-bound percent.
And there's a code for each part of the date.
Exactly. Day of the week, month name, you name it. It's like a secret code for unlocking the specific piece of time you need.
Okay, that makes sense. So if I wanted to analyze, say, website traffic, but only on Sundays to see if there's a weekend pattern, strftime could help me isolate that data.
Exactly. You could pull out all the Sundays from a year's worth of data, no problem.
That's so powerful. It's like having a filter for time.
And the best part, you can combine strftime with other SQLite date functions. Remember that last day of the month thing from earlier?
Yeah.
We can use strftime to figure out what day of the week that last day falls on.
Whoa, that's getting pretty complex. So we could see if there's a connection between, say, sales spikes and the day of the week, but only at the very end of the month.
Now you're getting it. This is what's so cool about this stuff. The article gives you the tools, right? But you bring the questions, you bring the curiosity about your data.
So it's not just about knowing the code, it's about knowing why we're using it, what we're actually trying to find out.
Exactly. It's like knowing how to use a telescope is cool, but the real magic is understanding what you're looking at in the sky.
This is blowing my mind. We've gone from now to manipulating and formatting dates like pros. But the article also mentioned using PHP with SQLite. What's that about?
Ah, now that's where things get really interesting. It's like opening up a whole new dimension of possibilities. We're talking about taking those dynamic date queries and, well, actually putting them to work.
So instead of just digging through data manually, we could have like a web app that does it for us on the fly.
Exactly. Imagine dashboards updating in real time, showing things like sales trends for the current week, or maybe user activity over the past hour, all driven by these queries we've been talking about.
That's incredible. It's like having your finger on the pulse of your data at all times.
Right. And the article gives that PHP example. It's just a taste, but it shows you what's possible when you combine SQLite's date functions with a little bit of code.
This whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener. We've gone from what is SQLite time to basically becoming time wizards.
Uh-huh. That's a good way to put it. It's amazing how much power SQLite gives us to really understand the when behind our data.
It really is. It's all about asking the right questions and then having the tools to find the answers. And clearly, SQLite's got those tools in spades.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Try things out. You might be surprised by the insights you uncover.
So true. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What hidden patterns or trends are lurking in your data, just waiting to be discovered? Think about the questions you've always wanted to answer. Now you've got the knowledge. Go explore those questions and see what you find. Until next time.
Happy exploring.